Want to learn how to develop a perfect crust and easily regulate the internal temperature of your steak at home? Stick around and I'll show you how I do it here on Racin-n-Braisin next. Alright guys, welcome back to Racin-n-Braisin, a special Sunday afternoon edition. The Texas race is going on right now and I am getting hungry. And as promised, I am going to show you how I get a perfectly seared steak with a perfect internal temperature every single time. Now this really does only work at home, and it's a method that I've actually developed in the last year. So what are we talking about? What I used to do, at least, and this has been a tried and true method, is get a really hard sear on both sides of my steak and then get it in the oven and finish the internal cook. It would require obviously a very hot pan, a very quick sear on both sides to get that sear locked in. Then get a temperature probe in the meat and get it in the oven, usually at a temperature of about 425 to 450 for the oven. For me, I like that mid-rare plus to medium. So an internal temperature for me right at 130 is what I am normally looking for. That method works great on thicker cuts of steak. When you're talking about that 3/4 of an inch to an inch cut, maybe even an inch and a half, you're going big. But I'm living that broke life again, so I don't always have money to go spend on a big hunk of steak. So I shop deals, and I did find an Aldi deal, a 2-pack of ribeyes. They each are about 10 ounces in weight, and it was 12 bucks. So I said, you know what, I'm good with that. Aldi prides themselves on stocking grass-fed, grass-finished beef on their shelves, and that's definitely the healthiest, most nutrient-dense. Now, the Aldi cut of steak is pretty thin. It's really only about a ½ inch thick. So the cook process is going to be really fast. To try and do that tried and true method of sear both sides and then get in the oven, it's going to overcook very quickly, and you just won't get a good consistent cook on it. So the method that I have learned for these thinner cuts of steak to achieve that good mid-rare to medium internal temperature is to do a quick 30-second sear on each side and continue to rotate 30 seconds, 30 seconds, 30 seconds, a total of 3 to 4 minutes. That really does develop a good, strong crust on it, and also gets you a nice, even cook throughout. The other advantage of doing it that way is that by not keeping one side on the heat for too long, you don't get that thicker gray band on the edge of the meat. So that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to have the timer going. You're going to see exactly how long it takes, and we'll walk you through it step by step. So stick around, guys. Let's get everything set up for getting our steaks cooked. Okay, guys, so we are set up and ready to get this steak going. It's going to take us about 10 more minutes before we actually get it onto the pan over there. What we have done here is removed it from the marinade, got it out of the plastic bag that it was in, and I didn't rinse it off. I just patted it dry real good with paper towels, and it's been sitting like this with a paper towel for about an hour now. It's coming up to room temperature. This is a very, very important part of cooking steak, allowing the meat to get up to room temperature before you actually cook it. If you just go ahead and remove this straight from the marinade out of the refrigerator and throw it into the hot pan, it's not going to cook consistently for you first and foremost, and you're not going to be able to get it cooked all the way through. You're going to have an uneven temperature. By getting it up to room temperature, it's just going to allow you to have a much more even and consistent cook all the way through it. What we're going to do next here before we even get to the cooking process is now I am going to add a little bit of my salt and let the salt wick away the last of any excess moisture that is in here. That moisture is a detriment to creating a sear, so we want to remove that. So all we're going to do here is just do a good sprinkle of salt, not a ton. I'm going to give this a press with my hand. And now I am going to turn it over and do the same thing. A little bit in that one area, so I'm going to spread it around a little bit there. And now I'm going to give it another press with my hand. And we are going to put the paper towel back over that, and we're going to leave this alone for about 10 minutes. While we're allowing the salt to do its thing here, we're going to go ahead and get our pan ready. What I'm going to do right now is get my pan turned on. I'm going to turn it to very, very low heat. And a technique that I do personally, you don't have to do this, but it just adds another element of flavor. And being a chef, I'm all about all the flavors, is I do a even mix of bacon fat and extra virgin olive oil as my cooking liquid. So I've got these two guys ready to go. I'm not going to put them in my pan yet. The purpose of me getting my pan hot now, it's not getting hot, but it's getting warmed all the way through so that there's a consistent heat all the way through. So let's give this about 10 minutes. We'll get things ready to go for the cook itself, and things will start happening a lot faster from there. Okay, guys, we are ready. It's been about 10 minutes since we turned on our heat and put the salt on our steak. Let's take a look at that. As you can see, I'm not sure that you can actually tell from the camera, but I can see it. There is a little bit of moisture there that's been drawn out from that salt. I'm just going to lightly tap it there and flip it over and just check, and yeah, a little bit of moisture has come up there. So we're ready to get going. Let's go ahead and get our oil into the pan here. Just over a quarter size is what I'm looking for. It's just about a tablespoon. And then an even amount with the bacon fat. So we're just going to put that in just under a tablespoon there. So it's just adding a little bit of extra flavor, letting everything get happy together. So we're ready to go here. I've got my tongs ready. I've got my steak. I've got my timer in front of me. That's going to be a big help. And keep me from having to lose track of what my time is in my head. The only thing I really need to keep track of is how many times I have flipped over the steak. So our oil and bacon fat has melted nicely. I'm going to go ahead and turn up the heat. We've got our heat turned up, and now it's definitely time to make sure fans are going. You've got some windows open because yes, it is about to get smoky in here and things are going to go very quickly. You'll notice over here on the side, I have got a plate ready to go. Once I pull the steak off, it's going to rest for several minutes. All right, so if you can see it on the video, I hope you can. There's a little bit of smoke going on here. So I'm going to turn it back just a touch, but we're ready to go in the pan here. So steak in the pan. There we go. And clapping sound. You want to hear clapping sound. And I've got my timer started. And I'm not touching it. 28, 29, there's 30, and turned over. Already a nice color going right there, but it's going to get even darker and more beautiful. All right, that's 58, 59. We're going to do it again. Boom. Turned over. Just that simple. This is so simple. I think any one of you guys can achieve this at home. I'm using all my senses. I'm turning the heat up a little bit because it sounded like the clapping noise was diminishing a little bit. And I really don't want that. I want to keep the heat high. And there's 28, 29, and here we go again. So we're now on the second time on the second side. If you notice in the screen behind me on the intro, I'm doing sweet potato wedges to go along with this, and I'm just doing them in the air fryer. They soaked in warm beef broth for about an hour, and then I've just seasoned them with salt, pepper, and olive oil. And they're going to be in the air fryer for about 15 minutes. Now look at how deep that crust is developing right there. So we're now on the third time for the second side. And I'm really only going to need about 1 or 2 more times on each side before I can start checking to see if this is ready or not. All right, there was another 30 seconds. See how quickly this is going? It's very helpful to have this timer here. That makes a huge difference. Look at how beautiful that crust is there. Not burnt. The soy sauce would have a tendency to burn if you left it on too high of a heat for too long. There's some sugar that's in there that would crystallize and burn. But because we're keeping it on one side for such short bursts, it's not having the opportunity to burn. All right, so I'm going to give this a feel. Very spongy, so this is probably going to need a little bit longer. Let's do another minute overall on each side overall. This is part of it. There's no tried and true. This is ending up being a little bit thicker piece than I normally get from Aldi. So that's probably why it's getting that extra little bit of time for us. But you notice right now we're only at 4 minutes of cooking. This is going to be, maybe a 5 to 6 minute total cook on this. All right. There we go. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Looking great. Right, yeah, I can feel it starting to firm up in the center there, which is exactly what I want. I'm going to do 1 more minute on this, and I think that's going to be the winning ticket here. Man, that just looks great. Absolutely looks awesome. I love the color on that. Yep. Nice pushback. You see how it's springing back real good? And like my finger isn't like diving deep into it. That means we're getting real close to that medium rare, medium temperature. I'm really happy with where that is right there in the feel. And I'm going to go ahead, cut the heat, pull it, and put it off the side to rest. And that's it. We're going to let it rest for a good 5 minutes, and then we'll be ready to cut into it. By then, our sweet potato wedges are going to be ready to go. All right, guys. Well, if you followed along, did it step by step like I did, you've got yourself a beautifully seared steak here. This guy's been resting for a couple of minutes now. I'm going to give it just a few more minutes to rest here. I still am waiting on my sweet potatoes to finish up. Be on the lookout for the short here later on today where I show you when we cut this open and dive into it. I hope you guys found a lot of value in this video here today, and I hope you guys try this method at home. I guarantee it is definitely going to work out really well for you, in particular if you have thin slices of steak. I know personally with money being tight, it's hard to incorporate a carnivore heavy style diet where you're protein heavy and to get a lot of variety in it. And steak's a big crucial part of that style of dieting and eating. People like me with lower on the funds were forced to spend money on thinner cuts of meat. So this method here is a way to really do a great job of getting a solid internal temperature that you'll like and it doesn't turn into shoe leather, as well as get yourself a nice, beautiful, well-seasoned, full of flavor crust on the outside of that. All right, guys. Well, if you can smell that, it smells amazing. I'm ready to get these sweet potatoes finished off and put beside it. I hope you all have a great weekend and found some value in this. If you did, leave a like, subscribe, share with your friends, a comment below if this worked out for you too. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a great one. Bye.